The photographer I chose to do my presentation on is Ansel Adams. Now, he lived from 1902 to 1984. The reason I chose this quotation because it really exemplifies Ansel Adams' idea about photography, because he took lots of photographs, but you can see what separates him from the others is his work in the darkroom. So he created it. He makes it, just like the quotation says. Now, Ansel Adams was born February 20th, 1902 in San Francisco. He was born to a pretty predominant family that was very financially well off. They came from New England and they moved to San Francisco, and they really enjoyed San Francisco. Now, what's interesting is parents wanted him to be a professional piano player, and for the first 14 years of his life, he was going to do that. He was going to, proceed to be a pianist, but he decided that he didn't want to do that after a family trip to Yosemite. Another interesting fact about Ansel Adams: in 1906, during the Great San Francisco earthquake, he was playing in the backyard in his mom's flowers next to a wall. Now, the earthquake happened and ended up pushing him forward into the wall and hitting his face against the wall, breaking his nose. Now, if you can see from the first slide, it's the picture of Ansel Adams. His nose is crooked and broken, or looks broken still. It did not heal correctly, so always in all his pictures, it looks a little bit off and looks a little bit crooked. And that is one way that he kind of became famous, because people saw the crooked nose and recognized it was Ansel Adams. Now, he stayed in California pretty much his whole life, or lived in California. He explored all over the United States, but he ended up dying in Monterey in 1984. His focus was primarily on landscape photography. He was criticized a lot throughout his whole career for not taking pictures of people, but what he got the pleasure of was taking pictures of landscape. Now, in 1916, his family took a trip to Yosemite National Park. He was actually using a Browning at the time, and he just took a bunch of pictures of everything. And when he got the pictures back, that's when he really enjoyed photography, because he relived the moments that he spent time in the park. That really meant a lot to him, because he really enjoyed the park. So when he looked at the pictures, it was like he was back there. So he got really inspired to go and to become a photographer. Also, when he was 14 years old, he read a book by John Mason Hutchins. The book Heart of the Sierras, and that really inspired him also to really just continue on photography, and especially in nature. So he had this involvement in nature, and that's what led him to joining the Sierra Club when he was 17 years old. Now, the Sierra Club actually still has him on their website, and really, really enjoy him, and really have a section all on Ansel Adams. And he said they say on his website that he's an environmental folk hero himself. So, and his pictures really represented not just, beauty, but what we need for the environment, what our environment looks like, and why we need to preserve it. He also helped start the group F64 in 1932, and he also helped create the zone system with Fred Archer, which measuring exposure. And you can see that in the photographers, and we will be representing both groups and both ideas throughout this presentations. Like I said, he's best known for pictures of Yosemite. What I thought was most interesting was his pictures of Half Dome. The Half Dome is kind of the big rock in the back, and it's what Yosemite is most famous for. And he took many pictures of the rock of Half Dome, and each one looks different and looks spectacular in itself. And I was always amazed that you can get such good quality pictures when you're taking a picture of the same thing from different angles, different lighting, different ideas. Then you see this picture also uses a great deal of the zone metering system, because you have dark in the front and you have light in the back, so you have to have a good aperture and a good exposure rate to get a good quality picture. And a lot of work was done in the darkroom with this particular piece to make it so crisp, to make the dark really look dark and the light really exemplify the light areas and have everything look sharp and clear. Another picture of Half Dome, like I said, it's really amazing that he took pictures from different angles and really captured a different, atmosphere of the park itself. And another one, just a really great picture, and I like how the tree is a little bit darker in the back, and you can see the light just bounce off of Half Dome. Now, it's said in 1928, after he got married, he kind of stepped away from Yosemite and moved on to other landscape photography in other parts of the United States because he wanted to show his kids and show his wife what the United States, especially the West, has to offer and the beauty that it has all over and what he can find to take pictures of. And so you can see him kind of stepping away from Yosemite, but moving to other national parks, especially in New Mexico and Arizona, and finally going up to Yellowstone. Now this picture I thought was very unique as well because you have the white snow-capped mountains in the back and you have the lake looking like it has like a white glare to it. You can see this was a lot was done in the darkroom of here. And you can see the picture is really very sharp, and the color arrangements that it has in it I think is really nice, and I really like the glare that has off the lake. That whiteness to the lake it has really shows clarity and kind of brings a peacefulness to the picture. And this is a picture of Yellowstone. Now, like I said before, he really toured more New Mexico and Arizona area, then he made his way up to Wyoming to take pictures of Yellowstone for the national government and to getting people out and about in the 1940s and 1950s to get them vacationing into national parks to raise funding for the parks, because at this time the parks are kind of under a lot of scrutiny of should they remain national parks, should they go state parks, and Ansel Adams was a big proponent of keeping them national and driving people to go see them, see what these beautiful things have. This is a picture of Old Faithful here, and to really see the beauty that we can all see in this great country if we just go out and we explore it. This is one of my favorite pictures that he has because you see the road just continue going on forever and look like it's just diminishing into nothing, but it just keeps going into the mountains. And it's a very dark picture, but to me that adds something. That you can see the sun coming in from the left, but you can just see that it doesn't really reflect onto the road, but it reflects onto the road, but not onto the mountains or anywhere else. I think it adds a lot of depth to the picture, and it adds a little bit something kind of dark and mysterious to the picture. Now this picture I believe we saw in class as well, and I believe we saw a picture from the earlier in the slide in class. I think it's very interesting that you see Ansel Adams appearing in a college class, not just once but multiple times, and I think we will continue to talk about him because of the zone metering systems and the group F64 that he really made great contributions to the photography community, especially here in the western United States, because that's what the group F64 is all about, was to collaborate to really show the beauty of the Western culture and Western ideas, and how here in the West we can just be as beautiful and make just as good art as they do on the East Coast. Here's a picture of New Mexico. Really just great. They can see the snow on the trees, but you can see the darkness of the tree, and it really stands out and brings very clarity to each limb to it, which I really like, and the white sky beyond it. And he actually did dabble in color a little bit. Now, that's one of his early pictures of color, and it was really interesting to me because he really didn't want to do color because he felt that a lot of it was taken away in the darkroom. He wasn't as familiar with it, but some of his pictures did turn out very well. It's another picture from New Mexico. It's supposed to be a church. Now, Ansel Adams really leaves a great mark on photography history, inspiring many young people to become photographers. But he also made a mark on a national level, especially with Kings Canyon. He's a big proponent of taking photos and really pushing for it to become a national park. Also, Candice in New Mexico, which has great hieroglyphics in it, and it's a beautiful park in Owens Valley. So he left this great thing, especially with Group F64 and the zone measuring system, to really exemplify what a good photograph will look like if you do it right.